Hey guys, it's Jesse from PS4Daily.com here, and today on PSN Weekly, we're taking a look at a game that a lot of people have been waiting for. A game that people didn't expect to see on consoles, but instead wanted it on the PS Vita. Yes, we're taking a look at a recent Final Fantasy release, Final Fantasy Type-0 HD. So, Final Fantasy Type-0, or Type-0 HD, however you want to call it, either one's fine. It's a game that I've been more or less keeping my eye on for a few years now. Over the years I've watched a few gameplay videos here and there, and I'm really interested in action RPGs, and so it did catch my interest in that regard. But the story and the graphics and nothing else about the game really hooked me. So for me, it was all about the combat portion of the game. That is until I got it. Before then, I wasn't exactly excited. In fact, going into the release, I mostly got it for the Final Fantasy 15 episode Duske demo, which we do have a PSN Weekly of that up on the site right now, which you can go look for, or go look on the front page. And so, yeah, that's the main reason I got this game. And so imagine my surprise when I'm sinking more hours into the Type-0 than I am into the episode Duske demo. As I mentioned in the article, I have accrued 2 hours into episode Duske. Meanwhile, I'm finding it very hard to rip myself away from Type-0. I'm closing in on 7 hours. I think I'm like 6 hours and 50 minutes, so it might as well be 7 hours. And I am absolutely loving just about every aspect of it. I say every aspect because the story hasn't really caught my interest yet. It's getting there, mind you, but in the start, it just doesn't really captivate me. So Final Fantasy Type-0, the story involves a war between, I guess, factions. There's a lot of terms being thrown at me from Final Fantasy 13, words I haven't heard since that game came out in, I think, 2008 or 2009. Yeah, I believe it's 2009. So they're throwing Lassie and Falsi, and wait, no, that was 2010. Sorry. They're throwing Lassie and Falsi and their mission and all that other stuff at me. I'm just like, whoa. Take a step back for a second, and how about you explain that instead of assuming that everyone's played Final Fantasy 13 and its various sequels. I mean, I think it's wrong for them to assume that we've already played those titles, and I understand, like, one of the good things about this game is that there's a thing called the Rubricum, and the Rubricum serves as your kind of all-access guide to what you've encountered so far in the world of Type-0. So I could go to the Rubricum, and I could look into the story thus far, and even some of the backstory that's been talked about where I am in the game, as well as also look into the bestiary part of the Rubricum, so I can look at the monsters, some of their weaknesses, rotate some of the 3D character models, and all that's really interesting. But the way that the Rubricum is organized kind of makes it difficult to really look into the story itself. Much like a Pokédex from the Pokemon games, the Rubricum is organized in a way so you unlock things as you discover them. So you'll have slot number 1, and then you'll have like a whole bunch of blank space, and you have slot number 2. And actually cycling through all of these these entries in the Rubicon can be a very tedious task. There is a page jump up and down button handled through pressing the R1 or R1 or L1 buttons, but even so, it's still a very daunting task to actually pour through the Rubicon and actually get some of this story, or try to understand some of the story. So I wish that there was more leeway in terms of how you were able to digest the story and how they were able to deliver it to you, because I feel like there's a lot of potential in this, but it's not realized at this point. Now, this will probably change as I go further into the game. Mind you, I'm only 7 hours into what I've heard is a 25-hour RPG, so I'm really excited to see how all of this comes together, and how where the climax is and how it all ends, because I'm really someone who's into story elements in video games. Those are by far my favorite parts of any game. Just just ask me when I played Beyond Two Souls. I love that game to tears. But yeah, so I really do wish they had kind of tweaked the story and made it something that's more consumable for your more casual audience. But yeah, going on from that, as an action RPG, Final Fantasy Type-0 is fast and fluid. And I'm going to put a huge emphasis on fast. So as I mentioned before, you commandeer the cadets of Type 0 or Class 0. And these are all various people or various characters who all play a relatively important part of the story, and they can all use magic to a certain degree. Some can use lightning magic, some can use fire magic, while others can use ice magic. And that's kind of important. That's kind of something important that comes in battle later on. And what's really important is how the actual battles play out themselves. Now, before battle, you can go to a save point, and you're asked to assemble your party. Your party consists of 3 members, but then it goes beyond that, because you can play as the whole Class 0 in your time during these missions. So I could put my main 3 in, and then I can put the rest of Class 0 as reinforcements. And so when one of my characters goes down in my party, it'll switch over to my first reinforcement, or my second reinforcement, or my third reinforcement. And at any time in battle, I can press up on the D-pad and willingly switch to that reinforcement character, him or herself. So that's really nice, and allows you to actually get a feel for all the characters in battle. And it's really important that you do so, because all these characters possess their own strengths and weaknesses. And so one person might be better suited to go up against one monster, while another person might be better suited to go up against a different monster. And so it's really important, and it really necessitates that you level up everyone, and you don't really over level someone, because then you're running the risk of running into a situation where you want to switch out characters, but it's not very smart because that person has been under leveled. And so the fast and fluid portion of the combat comes into play when you look at how the combat system plays out itself. So when you're targeting an enemy, certain enemies, when you get to a certain point in their health, much like the Third Birthday. Actually, if you play the Third Birthday, the combat's basically like that, except you can do more melee attacks, which I love. The Third Birthday was a lot of fun. I love the combat in there. But yeah, so when you get to a certain point in an enemy's health bar, and you kind of wait just a little while, just a few seconds maybe, while just targeting and not attacking, a little icon will appear over them. It can either be yellow, or it can be like a blackish reddish color. When it's a blackish reddish color, that indicates that if you can hit before that disappears, you'll do a one-hit KO. Now, even the soldiers, you can probably get this to pop up before you've even sliced off any of their health. It really depends on who you're fighting against. Now, even the giant mechs, or the enemies with more health than others, they'll frequently have the yellow bar appear, so you can constantly or chip away at large chunks of their health. And that's the part where, again, the cadets of Class 0 come into play, and that's where it's important to switch back and forth between them, because again, some people are more suited to this than others. You might have you might be playing as someone who has a low attack speed, or you might be playing as a melee character, and you might not want to get really close, or you might not have the time to actually take advantage of that window of opportunity to either chunk away at their health or do a one-hit KO. So you might want to switch over to say 7, for instance, who wields a chain whip. Think Ivy from Soul Calibur, or Nariko to an extent from Heavenly Sword. Now, for me, she's better suited because she has an attack mapped to X, and with that, she can kind of spear people with her sword, and then she can kind of reel herself in. Think of a reverse action for Scorpion's "come over here" move in the Mortal Kombat series. And so things like that really make Type-0 a blast to play, because these combat situations can either be as fast or slow as you want to make them. And I think it's really nice that there's this self-awareness, and it's aware that it is a handheld title. Not everyone has all this time to sink into combat, so it offers the users a way to quickly get in and out of combat scenarios, just in case they have something else to do. And that's just fantastic, and it translates over to consoles so well. And even it translates over to the Vita very well, because again, this is the title that features remote play, and as such, you might want to play this when you're away from the console. And in that regard, it works really well again, because it was originally a originally a PSP title, and so making the transition to console, it kept most of its control scheme. It doesn't actually use the R triggers for anything too important. When you're locking onto an enemy, you can use the R triggers to cycle between them, but you can also use the right analog stick. And so using you can use the same functionality with the right analog stick on the PS Vita, so you're not really missing out on anything. So that's pretty good. But combat in Final Fantasy Type-0 isn't all that perfect. In fact, the first hour of me playing was really frustrating because the camera coming over from the PSP version of the game is really bad. The motion blur isn't too bad. I was more bothered by how sensitive the camera is. So when you're using using the right analog stick to kind of sway the camera or pan the camera around the environment or around your character, it goes a little bit too fast, and there's no option to dial that back a few notes in the options menu. So that's really bothersome, and it can take a while to get used to, but eventually I did get used to it, and so I'm more or less fine with it, but still something that I would like to see addressed in a future update if that's possible. Now I do want to note that I did find it easier messing with the camera on the PS Vita version of the game, and I think it's either maybe a psychological thing, or because the travel time between the center position of the PS Vita sticks and the right, left, center, or the right, left, top or bottom, or just the edge of the sticks is shorter than it is on the DualShock 4. So that might come into play when you're actually playing Type-0. So that might be something you want to consider. Do you want to play this on the PS Vita via remote play, or are you more comfortable playing it on the big screen? Another thing of note is to say that it translates very well to the big screen. Graphics aren't bad, but obviously they're not going to look like a new gen title. They look like an more or less a remastered PSP game, which isn't a bad thing, because the PSP had some decent graphics, and it being remastered makes it look passable on a TV, so that's really good. So outside of combat, you're going to be spending most of your time within academia, and that's going to serve as your hub world, or not so much your hub world, but more of it as your base of operations of sort in the world of Type-0. Now here you can do a number of tasks, like go to class to increase your skills, go and switch out characters when you need to, go training to kind of hone your skills and gain experience through another special training program, talk to NPCs and complete side quests, talk to NPCs in general, and then they'll give you items when they're done talking to them. And all of this is tied really neatly into this timer system, which you'll see on the bottom right hand corner of this video when I am going through academia. So that in certain cases you'll have like a certain number of hours to complete a certain number of assignments. Now whilst you're just wandering around academia, that timer's not going to go down, so that's good. What will deplete from the timer in 2-hour increments is talking to NPCs with exclamation points over them. So it's like they're saying, well, this character talked to you for 2 hours, but as compensation, here's a potion or something of the sort. So that's pretty nice, and I did like that. And it kind of makes you, it kind of puts you in a tight spot, because then you have to consider, well, who do I want to talk to, or who do I have enough time to talk to? Do I want to go talk to this guy in this corner? Maybe he'll give me something good. Or do I want to allocate my time to something else, like taking a few classes, which take, I believe, 2 hours also. Or do I want to go start up a side quest and then go out into the main world and complete the side quests? Mind you, going out into the main world depletes 6 hours off your timer. So that's really important to consider. And speaking of side quests, unfortunately, you can only hold one side quest at a time. I don't know why. Maybe it's a limitation carried over from the PSP version of the game, but only being able to carry one side quest at a time can get really annoying, especially when so many of them appear. But that also does make considering who you exactly want to talk to and whose side quest you want to go complete that much more important. What I found to be quite lucrative or quite productive is to go talk to multiple NPCs, see what they want, take note of that either through a notebook or just keep it up in your noggin, and then go out to do one side quest. But whilst you're out there, grab everything from everyone else's side quest, come back to academia, and then talk to everyone and complete the side quest right then and there, because completing the side quest itself isn't going to drain any time from your timer, thank God. So yeah, that's just one way I decided to kind of sidestep this issue. But yeah, so that's basically everything for Type-0. Is it a good game and do I recommend it? Yes. Like I just said, I found it very hard to rip myself away from the game. It's around 25 hours-ish long, from what I've heard, and there's even some incentive to replay the game, because then you'll get some more cutscenes and you'll get more added story to the game, which I'm not too sure how I like that, but we'll see how that works out once I actually get to that point. There's also New Game Plus mode for you guys who like that. So yeah, I would say Type-0 is definitely worth your money. You can also get the Final Fantasy 15 episode Dusuke demo in there as well, if you're really interested in that. But yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below, either on the article or on the video. I'm Jesse with PS4Daily.com, and I'll see you guys later.
Broken through our lines! Okay then! Okay then!
I'm here now!
That's the last one. Quickly, position the magnesite. Magnesite in place. Now head for the enemy's central command.
Sorry to have kept you.
The success of this operation depends on you. Occupy the enemy's central command ASAP.
Stop! Who's there? Take steady aim.
We have no choice. We'll have to force activate the magicite. The controller has exploded. The town's power is out. There are now only a handful of troops near Central Command. Hurry! Occupy Central Command before the power comes back on.
Ask Central Command for backup! I can't. Our communications have been down since we lost power. Damn it! So that's what they were up to!
You're mine.
Fine. I'll give you a hand.
Why, you little...
just dealing with the monsters. Filthy red rats are crawling around the sewers. Attack!
Commencing attack!
forces are confused. Take out their commanders immediately!
Show the Reds the savagery of war! The gate won't open! What the hell is going on? Pull back nearby units! This area must not fall! Those brats defeated our MAs? Well done.
Mission accomplished!
Your Excellency, a report from the 09. They have located the target in Lorica and activated number 3. We estimate it to be under our full control by 1100 tomorrow morning.
So, it's finally come. Inform Kunmi we will no longer be requiring her inferior services.
Pyromans 842 RG. The Militesi Empire excavated the Black Tortoise Crystal from the ruins of Lorica.